Hey folks, on tonight's bike check, we're going to be checking in on the 2014 Specialized Enduro 29er S-Works mountain bike. Hey folks, this is Gene from Regular Guy Mountain Biking, where we talk about all kinds of crazy fun things that have to do with mountain bikes, and of course home of the Regular Guy Mountain Biking Bike Chat Show. On this bike check, we're going to be checking out Renzo's mountain bike. Renzo is on the line today. Hello, Renzo. How you doing this evening?
Hello, Gene. I'm fine, thank you. Thank you for having me. How are you?
I'm killing it, man. This is great, folks. Renzo, as always, remember Renzo's notes are over here. So I am talking to Renzo, but I'm looking at my notes over here. Renzo has a 2014 Specialized Enduro 29er S-Works that the guy pedals like a monster. I watched a couple of his videos, dude. I watched a good part of that one in Enduro race. So folks, I'm gonna edit some of the video in there, but he's like hauling ass on this race, and all I hear is something in Spanish, like basically in English, "Get the hell out of the way!"
Uy, perdón. Vamos, Alessandra, con todo, campeón.
Dude, you were killing it in that race. You said you came in third, and
Yes.
I just kept on seeing people, and you're just like, and you said gracias, which was awful nice of you, but
Gracias.
meanwhile, you're like leaving him in the dust. I was loving it, dude. You were killing that race. I was so rooting for you. That was awesome, man.
Thank you, Gene. That's very kind of you.
Well, like I said, we're going to be talking about his Specialized Enduro 29er S-Works. Now, what I really want to talk about when we talk about your bike today is certainly how you're using it in enduro racing. I'm not a very I wouldn't even say I'm not a very good racer. I really don't race. I did a couple enduro things here and there, but it was just to say I did it. Not my specialty. But I'm curious about racing and how a 29er is working in racing, especially for enduro, and just that topic also in general. So folks, Renzo does like to do some cross-country trail riding, enduro riding, likes the technical stuff. Is that correct, my friend?
Yes, I love the tech. The more tech a trail is, the more I like it.
Cool. So, like with all the videos, keep that in mind when we talk about Renzo's bike and his opinions. The guy likes to kind of push the limits a little bit, which is really good, because that means if he says something's good about a specific area of the bike, that's pretty, I'd say it's a pretty good endorsement, because the guy is definitely pushing it. So let's just go over here real quick. You bought this from a friend. I also wanted to cover this a little bit, because you mentioned over here some issues with Specialized getting some help with the bike. So you bought this from a friend. Did you buy it from a friend because it was just easier to get a bike from your friend, or I don't know where you, like, what's it like to get a bike in Honduras?
In Honduras, luckily, we have several dealers. We have dealers for Specialized, for Trek, for Orbea, for Scott. There's many brands, so
Okay.
it's not for lack of choices available and from dealers. The thing is, in December, I was looking at getting the 2017 Specialized Enduro Comp, which is the most basic entry-level Enduro that they sell.
Okay.
And this friend had this 2014 Specialized Enduro S-Works in 29 version, which is what I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me, I can give it to you for lower than the price that the new one would have cost me. And it was a no-brainer. It's the carbon version. It weighs like 4 pounds less. It's got top-end components all across the range. So it was an easy choice for me. It was my Christmas gift.
And like you said, you fell in love with the bike's design, particularly X-Wing. Help me with that. Tell me about that, buddy.
The X-Wing is the part of the frame when you see it from the side, the top tube and the arms that hold the top of the shock, they make an X shape.
Okay.
And that's called the X-Wing by Specialized. So since the first time that I saw it, I was like, oh, dude, that is such an awesome design. I love it. And that was back in like 2014 when I first started getting seriously into mountain biking.
Gotcha.
And I was like, that's my platonic love. One day I want to have one of those bikes. And
That's awesome.
luckily, it came true.
Gotcha. So you pretty much wanted this bike for a while. Everything just the stars aligned, and luckily you were able to get one of these over here. So that's
Exactly.
pretty sweet. You do use this for racing, okay?
Yes.
Is it working well for enduro racing?
We don't have an actual enduro race format over here right now. Most of the races would be classified more on the cross-country kind of side of the trails.
I was going to ask you
But
about that. Yeah.
yeah, but it's working great so far. I mean, I do have a disadvantage when racing against other people who have more specialized cross-country style bikes weighing anywhere from 23 to 25, 27 pounds. Mine's at 30 pounds right now.
Right.
So it's still a fairly light bike for the burly bike that it is
Of
and
course.
the amount of travel available. And in the end, I like racing more as a participating and seeing how well I do kind of thing, not racing because I want to win and I want a podium finish.
Gotcha.
So in that sense, it's working very well for me because I want to go out there, I want to have fun, and this bike is everything I hoped it would be.
Well, you still did quite well. I mean, I think you said you came in third in that one race, and you
Yes.
really were doing good.
Thank you.
And the reason why I wanted to ask you about the racing also, you actually brought it up already. You were doing a fair bit of pedaling, more than I've seen in traditional enduro type racing. Like the only enduro racing pedaling, for the most part, is between stages. But you
Yes.
seemed like you were actually racing and pedaling, which I found was kind of, I don't want to say odd, but I mean, it's not true to the enduro theme. So I think, just like you said, the enduro racing where you live is a little bit more of a hybrid cross-country. And then, but I saw some of the descents. Definitely some technical involved, certainly.
Thank you. And yes, I agree with you. It's more cross-country, hybrid kind of racing, not really an enduro format, because at least in this race in particular that we're talking about right now, there wasn't a timed climb. It was just, if in the video you can see that it goes up and it goes down continuously.
Yeah.
So there wasn't really a big climb followed by a big descent.
So let's take that topic and discuss that a little bit about this bike. A lot of times when you get into the enduro type bike, when I was talking to Alex, he has a Cube Fritz with 180 millimeters of travel, which is like, I think, right? You get the same, like that's a lot of travel.
Yeah, that's a lot of
right, but he totally recommends, like, he's like, no, I can pedal this thing up a hill, Gene, honest. What's your bike like? Does it feel? What's it like pedaling up hills? Just in general for this type of bike, would you endorse this as a full bike to pedal up hills as well?
Yes, you know, my bike, it has the RockShox spike up front.
Okay.
And a Cane Creek double barrel air shock for the rear.
Nice.
It's really nice, thanks. And both of them have a climb option that you can go locking out. So
even the front of you got the pike with the lockout on it as well there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't become fully rigid, but it does firm up the fork.
Gotcha.
However, I actually almost never use either of them. I almost always use them in the same setting in which I descend.
Okay.
Because I find that I prefer my bike being a bit more lively and perhaps less efficient in pedaling, but it gives me better traction, or at least that's my feeling, my sensation with the bike. Whenever I have the suspension open, it always conforms better to the changes in terrain. And therefore, I have better traction. And I prefer having better traction while we're feeling it bouncy and more firm.
Gotcha. So that's pretty interesting because I have a lockout, and you know I don't have the strength to usually climb all that well, so I'll usually lock it out just to help me out. But you're right. A lot of times when I'm doing that, it'll be like because the suspension's not sucking it up and helping you get over the stuff. So sometimes it's a disadvantage. So doing what you're doing, do you run low tire pressure then too, just to kind of keep things kind of smooth?
I'd say so. I have the wheels on my bike are 29 millimeters wide in the internal width, so they're fairly wide rims. I'm running a 2.5 Maxxis Minion in front and a 2.3 Maxxis Minion on the back.
Okay.
I'm running 20 psi in the front tire and 24 psi on the rear one.
Okay. And I was actually I would have thought that you had 20 in the back as well, but you keep it a little bit firmer back there, huh?
Yes, I keep a firmer pressure on the bike, on the rear tire, because I I believe I have a fairly good line choice instinct, but I
Hmm.
don't have all my skills extremely dialed yet with the
Okay,
bunny hops and stuff like that. So I sometimes smash the rear tire into several rocks or obstacles, and
gotcha.
I prefer running a bit of a higher pressure. I think I might be able to go with a bit of a lower pressure.
Hmm.
I'm not that interested in puncture, so there's always that balance.
Right.
And I'm at 190 pounds, so
Okay.
I'm also not that lightweight either.
Well, and I'll save this for later, but now I understand why you said one of the things you want to upgrade, which oh, actually no, wait a minute. Okay, so in your top upgrades you've made, you said you upgraded to the Milk It, which I love, the Milk It tubeless system.
Yes.
So when you mean
Yes.
puncture, you're literally talking about the casing of the tire. You're like,
Yes.
oh, okay, not like a pinch flat. Okay, gotcha.
No, no pinch flats. Yeah, luckily the Milk It system with the stand sealant has
Hmm.
worked great for me so far.
I love that.
Yeah, it's really practical, and I've had it installed for like 2 months. And actually, this week was the first time I pinched my bike, but not a pinch flat. It was a puncture on one of the trails. A bit of glass went into the tire, and the stance didn't seal it up immediately. I lost some
Right.
pressure, had to stop for a moment,
Hmm.
and aired it up and made it back home with no issues.
Yeah, but that's no product fault. I mean, if you're gonna be running over
Indeed.
glass, that's just a shame, you know.
Yeah.
But but I do. Oh, sorry. I do very much like the Milk It tubeless system. That works really well. But I also want to ask you about the other upgrade you had over here, the oval ring. Tell me about how that's working for you, specifically around the fatigue. I didn't even think you were going to say this. The muscles in the fatigue, specifically, you said reducing fatigue in my muscles and knees. I didn't even know that was part of a benefit from this ring. So, can you give me a little bit on that ring?
Sure. It's actually very interesting because if I were to give you like the most um, comparable analogy that I can think of is imagine you're going from a first floor to a second floor climbing,
Hmm.
and you're going to climb as the first option with a ladder, and as your second option through the normal stairs. So that's more or less what for me it felt like when I went from a round chainring
Okay.
to an oval chainring. When you're using a round chainring, the amount of effort that you're making at the top of the rotation is very high,
Okay.
and it goes at the same rate all throughout the stroke. Well, with the oval one, from say 12 to about 230,
Hmm.
it's quite soft, and from 3 to
Wow.
530 or so, it gets harder. So that's because of the oval shape. When I'm at 12, say it's actually a bit offset, but just for ease of numbers,
Okay.
when
Yeah.
I'm at 12, it's a 28 tooth chain ring. When I'm like at say 2 to 3 o'clock, it becomes a 30 tooth chain ring. When I'm like at about
Hmm.
3:30 to 4 or so, it becomes a 32 tooth chain ring.
That's
So
pretty
that's the
cool.
amount of difference that it makes as you go through the stroke. Therefore,
Okay.
when you're at the point where it's hardest to put out some power, it's the softest chain ring that you're facing. And when you're really into the power stroke, where you can just really use the leverage and all of your muscle groups to deliver power, that's where it becomes a harder chain. And that allows you to put out more power where you're good at it.
That's
So
a great
that's
description. That's like probably some of the best I've ever heard, and how that makes a whole lot of sense, dude. I mean
thanks.
yeah, you kind of sold me on it. I mean, like that is really. I didn't really know that's how. So that's why you're feeling better with your legs, because they're getting the help when they need it throughout the strokes. You're not fatiguing them and working them so hard to get through the stroke. You've got
Correct.
some help at different points.
Yeah, it's
Hmm.
very, very beneficial. I used to have not terrible pain in my knees and muscles,
Mhm.
but I definitely noticed less fatigue, especially in huge rolls where we'd go out and do really long days on the saddle,
Right.
I was much less fatigued afterwards.
Interesting. Now, you mentioned you like your Maxxis Minions. A lot of us use the Maxxis Minions. They're just really good tires. That's a great upgrade. But I do want to hear about your top upgrades. I was kind of curious about actually all of them. You want to tell us about your top upgrades you wanted to talk about over it? One you kind of already did already, so it's you're right there already. You're looking forward to trying it out.
All right, so this week I just received my E13 TRS race cassette, which is the one that's for the XD driver and comes from the 9 to a 46 tooth cog.
Okay.
I just installed it. I just got back from the bike shop, and tomorrow we're going to be doing a fairly long ride with a lot of climbing. It's going to be over 1,500 meters of climbing, which is over 4,500 feet, and it's going to be a heavy day. So this would be very interesting because I have a single ring setup on my bike, so it's a one by, and I'm using the 30 tooth oval ring with the stock 10 to 42 cassette that the bike had with the SRAM XX1. It was a good range, but it always left me either suffering in the really steep climbs or short on the pavement while we were getting to the trails, especially when we go out with the high performance groups. It's pretty much a race to the trailhead.
Right.
So this is going to help me out because it's giving me pretty much one lower gear and one higher gear with the range. So the steps will be a bit more pronounced between each consecutive gear. So
that'll be interesting to hear how that works. I'm definitely gonna want to check back on you on that and get a little bit of a feedback on how that thing worked out for you, because those are some pretty drastic numbers, especially on the low end. You should have a heck of a lot easier time getting up those hills now.
Yes.
That's nice, and I love seeing the pedal innovations, the Catalyst pedals from James Wilson. I mean, I'm going to be getting a set as well pretty soon. I just think it's such a great idea, right?
Yeah, it's James Wilson started me on the idea of going back to flat pedals because I started with flat pedals and then I went to clipless, and I saw his flat pedal manifesto, and I think he makes some excellent points regarding all the benefits and really all of the technique that's so useful to you to actually take the time to learn properly.
I agree.
And I went back and got some flat pedals. The Race Face Effect is what I have right now. And then I saw his flat pedal, the Catalyst. And it sounds really interesting. The science about having your arc supported the front and rear of your foot with a large platform, it made sense about how the effort goes through better with a flat foot, and what we're doing is not really running, but I really bought into what he's saying. So I think it makes a lot of sense, and I'm looking forward to getting some of those this year.
I'm psyched as well. I've also even tried to reposition my feet on the pedals more based on his theories and the way he talks about positioning, a little bit back, just to kind of get that, get the power back to the heel. Exactly. So you can push, and I'm like, oh my God, this is actually working. It really makes a major difference. And just this subtle little movement back, or rather forward, mid-foot's where you go.
Exactly.
And I was surprised. So that was something else. Now, you're also looking at getting a new dropper post, or interested in one. I'm curious about that because one of the things you said that you didn't like about it was the dropper because of you couldn't put a bag behind there. So why is a new dropper post on your list? How's that supposed to help?
Okay, the new dropper post isn't going to fix the saddlebag issue, so that's two separate things.
Okay.
But the issue with the current dropper post is it's leaking air. So I can put some air in it, and 10-15 minutes later it's already empty. So I'm currently having to grab the seat post with my thighs and lift it up with pressure while I'm on the trail if I don't want to let go of the handlebars. It's really uncomfortable. It looks terrible, man. I get everybody just laughs at me so hard when they see me do it.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing now because I'm picturing you doing it. I'm so please, forgive me. It's the first day I met you. I'm so sorry, but I could just see you like, son of a.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's terrible. But so that's the current issue with the dropper post. It's the specialized command post IR which came with the bike.
Okay.
And one of the things which I had said I didn't like about the bike, the issues with the dealer that you mentioned at the start of the chat, is the actual dealers who used to represent and own, let's say, the brand here in Honduras, no longer own it. It's now going through Guatemala, which is a neighboring country. And I've had the bike since December, and it's been 3 months since I gave them all the parts number for the parts that I needed, and just this week I'm barely getting a quote from them. So that has had me, it's had me going up, climbing up the walls, crazy, just desperate for new parts. It's just the maintenance kit for the dropper post. It's the driver that allows me to use the Roval wheels with the Shimano driver instead of the XD driver in case I ever want to, and a spare derailleur hanger. I mean, it's nothing that's extremely hard to get. I even gave him the parts number, which I got from Specialized US. So that's like been my main issue with that. And the TRS dropper post, which is the reason why I want it, it's fully mechanical. The spring is not an air spring; it's a mechanical coil spring.
Yeah.
So that would eliminate any issues of having a seal bothering me anywhere, anytime, and it comes with a 5-year warranty. So I see that these guys really stand behind their products, and I'm interested in trying them out.
I read that about that seat post. I remember now that you mentioned that now it's coming back. They basically had said that was their main objective, making this dropper seat post is a serviceable by the end user seat post. Just you could rip it apart, fix it on your own if you have to, or service it. And I'm sorry, that didn't click until you just said that. Now I remember when I read that about them. That was their big claim on that, is they wanted to just make it easy for everyone to use. And I guess we'll learn more about it from you.
I hope so.
Yeah, definitely. Well, let me do this. I didn't realize how long we've been talking already. It feels like I know you forever. I'm sitting here talking, thinking, oh man, I mean, we gotta we gotta cover all this stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh, we've been going on for a little while over here. So if you were to recommend this bike to a type of rider, who do you think would like this specialized Enduro 29er S-Works bike?
Okay, I think this bike is for everybody who wants to go big, pretty much, but not looking for a total downhill rig. This bike has been very nice to me because it's very forgiving, and I still have a lot of fun with it. I believe a rider who is looking for a stable ride instead of a more agile or perhaps lively bike would be more satisfied with this kind of bike. I had before this one an Orbea Rayon X30, which is also an enduro bike. It's also got 160 millimeters travel and everything. It was a great bike, and it was, in my opinion, a bit more lively. It made me feel more nervous when I was going through the rough stuff, through rock gardens and stuff like that. In part because of the smaller wheel size. That's a 27.5.
Right. But
the bike in itself, this bike, I went to it and it feels much more stable. Whether it's the combination of the geometry, the tires, the suspension is pretty much the same travel. So there's always several factors, but I feel it's a very good bike for someone who wants a stable ride, who wants to be have their confidence inspired by their bike. This bike inspires confidence in me.
And you mentioned that. That was one of the points, and I like when you said that. You basically said that this bike basically instills confidence in you. You feel very stable and confident riding this bike. Exactly. I like that comment when you put that on there.
Thank you. Yeah, for example, one of my favorite trails, I've been able to go with this bike from, I think my best Rayon time was like 3 minutes and 40-something seconds. And I'm right now at 2 minutes 56, I think. So that's almost a whole minute out of a under 4 minute downhill section that I've shaved. It's almost a 25% off. So it's noticeably faster for me.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Well, folks, I hope you like to learn. I hope you liked learning about this particular bike. Again, I'll say it one more time: the 2014 Specialized Enduro 29er S-Works edition, which was what Enzo exactly was looking for, pretty much his dream bike over here. There'll be links to his YouTube channel, so you can take a look at the race where he yells at all those people in another language, which was so cool, dude. I loved every second of that.
Pista, 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 vamos.
And this is great. I mean, I can't believe I'm hitting all these different places around the world talking to people about their bikes. I'm stoked. This is turning into a much better idea than I thought it was even going to be, because it's not even just meeting like great people like yourself, but meeting great people all over the world just talking about bikes. I mean,
yes. RGMTB is global, man. It's awesome.
Yes. Well, folks, I want to thank Renzo for his time today. This was great. I am also going to catch back with him on a lot of those topics over here. I want to find out about the TRS dropper post, his 2 cents on the pedals, and the E13 cassette. So expect to see that Renzo face on your screen again, because we're probably going to have another bike chat, because I want to find out how he likes those products. But in the meantime, subscribe to the channel. Give me a little love over here. Push the button. Subscribe to the channel. Check out some of the other bike checks and other videos that we have here. And as always, keep the party on the pedals, everybody. And we will catch you on the next show. Thanks a lot, everyone. Bye-bye.
Gracias.